Maintenance. One of the most common questions computer users ask is, how do I maintain my computer and keep it running great? A computer is a lot like a car, it costs more than you think it should. It starts going down in value as soon as you bring it home, and it requires regular maintenance to keep it running smoothly. To properly deal with repairable systems, we need to first understand how components in these systems are restored, i.e. the maintenance actions that the components undergo. In general, maintenance is defined as any action that restores failed units to an operational condition or retains non-failed units in an operational state. For repairable systems, maintenance plays a vital role in the life of a system. It affects the system's overall reliability, availability, downtime, cost of operation, etc. Generally, maintenance actions can be divided into three types: corrective maintenance, preventive maintenance, and inspections. Preventive maintenance is the practice of replacing components or subsystems before they fail in order to promote continuous system operation. The schedule for preventive maintenance is based on observation of past system behavior, component wear-out mechanisms, and knowledge of which components are vital to continued system operation. Cost is always a factor in the scheduling of preventive maintenance. In many circumstances, it is financially more sensible to replace parts or components that have not failed at predetermined intervals rather than to wait for a system failure that may result in a costly disruption in operations. Here are a few basic guidelines required. Surge protection, power surges, spikes, lightning, and brown-outs are all things that can literally burn up your computer and its peripherals. Save yourself lots of money in repairs by buying a decent surge protector, aka power strip, for your computer and use it. A UPS, uninterruptible power supply, though slightly more expensive, is even better. 2. Antivirus protection. Everyone should know about this by now, but we often see computers with either no virus protection at all, or antivirus software that is badly out of date. Nothing can wreck your computer faster than a virus, except for maybe electricity, but with a small investment in good antivirus software and making sure you set it to update itself daily. 3. Minimize the number of software you install. This is another thing many people overlook. Installing lots of programs on your computer is a lot like pulling a bunch of rowdy children together on a playground. Some of them may not play well together. A good rule of thumb is if you don't need, don't install. This is especially true when you surf the web. You will likely get bombarded with pop-up ads trying to get you to install all kinds of free utilities they claim your computer cannot live without. Most of these are spyware, adware, and junk. Backup your important files. To minimize the potential of losing important information, always make a backup of your crucial files. To do this, you can use a CD burner, a backup tape system, or a removable disk drive, such as a JAS, zip, floppy, or flash drive. Keep copies of these backups in another location, just in case you need to perform a disaster recovery. Firewall protection. Symantec Norton Personal Firewall keeps personal data in and hackers out. Right out of the box, it makes your PC invisible on the internet so that hackers cannot find it. The programmer's intelligent intrusion prevention technology blocks suspicious internet traffic. And easy-to-use privacy controls prevent personal information from being sent out without your knowledge. Internal, external component cleaning. Dust is one of the leading causes of hardware failure. All moving components are thoroughly cleaned and lubricated during service visits. The case is opened and dust is removed from the motherboard and all system boards. The CPU fan, power supply fan, and any other board fans are cleaned, lubricated, and tested. All data cables are checked to be sure they are securely heated on system boards. CD and floppy drives are opened, cleaned, and tested for data transfer. External components such as keyboard, mouse, monitor, and printers are cleaned of dust and debris, and all cable connections are checked. Connections to surge protectors or UPS are checked. 7. Scan and defragment your hard drive. On arrival, your hard drive stores information in open areas of your hard drive. As you delete data on your drive, open space appears. The computer will utilize this open space to store new information. Sometimes information for a particular file or application is separated on a drive into several different locations. The totality of the information may not fit in the open space in one area, so the computer will divide the information into several pieces. When you scan and defragment your hard drive, you are minimizing the risk of having problems and slowdowns caused by separated data on your hard drive. The defragmentation will locate, delete open spaces, and place associated files back together again, helping your computer to run smoothly and faster. To do this, right-click on the Drive Properties Tools tab, Defragmentation section, Defragment. Now select the drive, Analyze OR, Defragment Disk Defragmenter. Disk Defragmenter is a system utility for analyzing local volumes, an area of storage on a hard disk. A volume is formatted by using a file system, such as FAT or NTFS, and has a drive letter assigned to it. You can view the content of a volume by clicking its icon in Windows Explorer or in My Computer. A single hard disk can have multiple volumes, and volumes can also span multiple disks, and locating and consolidating fragmented files and folders. You can also defragment. Defragmentation is the process of rewriting parts of a file to contiguous sectors on a hard disk to increase the speed of access and retrieval. When files are updated, the computer tends to save these updates on the largest continuous space on the hard disk, which is often on a different sector than other parts of the file. When files are thus fragmented, the computer must search the hard disk each time the file is opened to find all of the file's parts, which slows down response time disks from a command line using the defrag command. The best practices for fragmenting a volume are enumerated below. Analyzing before defragmenting. Analyze volumes before defragmenting them. After analyzing a volume, a dialog box tells you the percentage of fragmented files and folders on the volume and recommends whether to defragment the volume. Analyze volumes regularly and defragment them only when Disk Defragmenter recommends it. A good guideline is to analyze volumes at least once a week. If you seldom need to defragment volumes, analyze volumes monthly instead of weekly. Analyzing after large numbers of files are added. Volumes might become excessively fragmented when users add a large number of files or folders, so be sure to analyze volumes after this happens. Generally, volumes on busy file servers should be defragmented more often than those on single-user workstations. Ensure that your disk has at least 15% free space. A volume must have at least 15% free space for Disk Defragmenter to completely and adequately defragment it. Disk Defragmenter uses this space as a sorting area for file fragments. If a volume has less than 15% free space, Disk Defragmenter will only partially defragment it. To increase the free space on a volume, delete unneeded files or move them to another disk. Defragmenting during low usage periods. Defragment file server volumes during low volume usage periods to minimize the effect that the defragmentation process has on file server performance. The time that Disk Defragmenter takes to defragment a volume depends on several factors, including the size of the volume, the number of files on the volume, the number of fragmented files, and available system resources. Defragmenting after installing software or installing Windows. Defragment volumes after installing software or after performing an upgrade or clean install of Windows. Volumes often become fragmented after installing software, so running Disk Defragmenter helps to ensure the best file system performance. Defrag. At times, it might be difficult to even select the drive to be defragmented, hence the use of command line. Locates and consolidates fragmented boot files, data files, and folders on local volumes. Syntax: defrag volume, defrag volume, defrag volume, v, defrag volume, v, defrag volume, f. Parameters: definitions: volume, the drive letter or amount point of the volume to be defragmented. Analyzes the volume and displays a summary of the analysis report. V displays the complete analysis and defragmentation reports. When used in combination with A, displays only the analysis report. When used alone, displays both the analysis and defragmentation reports. F forces defragmentation of the volume regardless of whether it needs to be defragmented. /? Displays help at the command prompt. Remarks: a volume must have at least 15% free space for defrag to completely and adequately defragment it. Defrag uses this space as a sorting area for file fragments. If a volume has less than 15% free space, defrag will only partially defragment it. To increase the free space on a volume, delete unneeded files or move them to another disk. You cannot defragment volumes that the file system has marked as dirty, which indicates possible corruption. You must run chkdsk on a dirty volume before you can defragment it. You can determine if a volume is dirty by using the fsutil dirty query command. While defrag is analyzing and defragmenting a volume, it displays a blinking cursor. When defrag has finished analyzing and defragmenting the volume, it displays the analysis report, the defragmentation report, or both reports, and then exits to the command prompt. By default, defrag displays a summary of both the analysis and defragmentation reports if you do not specify the A or V parameters. You can send the reports to a text file by typing >filename.txt, where filename.txt is a filename you specify. For example, defrag volume v greater than filename.txt to interrupt the defragmentation process. At the command line, press Ctrl+C. Running the defrag command and disk defragmenter are mutually exclusive. If you are using disk defragmenter to defragment a volume and you run the defrag command at a command line, the defrag command fails. Conversely, if you run the defrag command and open disk defragmenter, the defragmentation options in disk defragmenter are unavailable. Formatting legend format, meaning italic information that the user must supply bold elements that the user must type exactly as shown ellipsis. Parameter that can be repeated several times in a command line between brackets, optional items between braces, choices separated by pipe. Example, even, odd, set of choices from which the user must choose only one courier font code or program output. 8 checking errors on the hard drive. This is done to rectify bad sectors. To do this, right-click on the Drive Properties Tools tab. Error Checking Sector Check Now. Automatically fix file system errors. OR Scan for an attempt recovery of bad sectors. Start corrective maintenance. Corrective maintenance consists of the actions taken to restore a failed system to operational status. This usually involves replacing or repairing the component that is responsible for the failure of the overall system. Corrective maintenance is performed at unpredictable intervals because a component's failure time is not known at prior. The objective of corrective maintenance is to restore the system to satisfactory operation within the shortest possible time. Corrective maintenance is typically carried out in 3 steps. I. Diagnosis of the problem. The maintenance technician must take time to locate the failed parts or otherwise satisfactorily assess the cause of the system failure. E. Repair and/or replacement of faulty components. Once the cause of system failure has been determined, action must be taken to address the cause, usually by replacing or repairing the components that caused the system to fail. E. Verification of the repair action. Once the components in question have been repaired or replaced, the maintenance technician must verify that the system is again successfully operating. System diagnosis. The diagnosis practice is usually called troubleshooting. Much of the troubleshooting guide treated here caters for users of Windows operating systems. Always keep detailed records of all errors and steps taken to correct these errors. Error numbers and codes are important to log. They tell technicians, network administrators specific information about the problems you are having. To document errors, press the iDetailsy button or simply write down the first couple of lines of information given in the error screen. Check all cables first. The most frequent problem with computers is a loose or disconnected cable. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't let the machine intimidate you. Before calling an expert for technical support, always shut your computer down totally and reboot. Wait until the CPU is not making any sounds and then turn it on again, by pressing the power button. 1. Booting problems. When you press the power button, you give the instruction to the electricity to wake up the computer. This instruction causes the computer to start giving its own instructions to internal parts. One of the instructions is called BIOS. The BIOS instruction starts checking everybody, asking, "Are you okay? Are you okay? What about you?" If a certain part that is important doesn't respond, for example if a certain important object such as the keyboard or mouse is not connected, which means it will not respond when the BIOS asks, "Are you okay?" then the BIOS may interrupt everything, or it may continue checking. If the BIOS comes to a conclusion that this computer is not worth using, it would display an error and may not let you do anything significant. If the BIOS thinks that everything is alright and that the computer can be used, then it gets the hardware parts ready. I am receiving an error that says, "Invalid system disk, replace and press any key when ready." This error is caused by the presence of a floppy disk in the floppy drive while the computer is booting up. Whenever you turn your computer on, remember to eject all disks from the floppy drive, unless a bootable floppy disk. If you get this error, eject the floppy disk and hit enter. Your computer should continue to boot as normal. B. Receiving a keyboard-related error. This error occurs when the keyboard has become unattached from the rear of the computer. Check behind the computer to see if your keyboard is still firmly attached to the computer. Also check to see if something has been pressing on top of the keyboard during booting. Remove all items that are pressing keys and replug the keyboard into the computer. Restart your computer. See, I am receiving a no signal error, or a there are no visuals on my monitor. A no signal error means that the monitor is not receiving a signal from the computer. Check to see if the computer is on and running. Then check the connection cord between the computer and the monitor. If everything is connected, turned on, and running, then there might be an internal error causing this error to occur. Contact a technician for assistance. D. ScanDisk appears on a blue screen, stating that Windows was not properly shut down. ScanDisk is a utility that Windows runs automatically when it thinks there might be a problem with your system. This does not mean that there is a problem, but Windows will automatically take this step to ensure that the problem is rectified. Let ScanDisk run and wait to see if your machine will boot properly after ScanDisk is complete. If it does not, turn the computer off and reboot to see if the problem clears up on its own. If rebooting the computer does not solve the problem, contact your technician. 2. Safe mode problems. If your computer boots to a screen giving you a choice to boot into safe mode, or it automatically boots into safe mode, Windows has run into an error that it cannot bypass to run smoothly. In most cases, you can reboot and the problem will resolve itself automatically. If you continue to get the safe mode screen, or it goes away and comes back frequently, then contact your technician. 3. The system is on but it is not responding. My system is locked and nothing I press or click is working. What now? Sometimes your computer will stop responding, or iFreeze, either during operation or after unused for a period of time. If the computer has not been used recently, press a few keys and wait several minutes. If the computer iFreezes during operation, stop using the keyboard and the mouse for several minutes. If you continue to use the computer when it is iFreezing, it will prolong your waiting period. If, after waiting for several minutes, you cannot get your computer to respond by using the keyboard or the mouse, turn the computer off by pressing the power button on the front of the machine. Let the computer shut down, the CPU is no longer making any sounds, and then reboot. If you still get no response from the machine, your mouse and keyboard may have become dislodged from the rear of the machine. Check those connections and reboot again. If the computer freezes again after plugging the mouse and keyboard into the back of the computer and rebooting, contact your technician. Rebooting problems. Windows won't shut down, it stays at the please wait screen, or won't power down. This is a problem with the way Windows is talking to your computer. The computer wants to suspend activity, but Windows is telling it to shut down. This is causing confusion for the computer. In some cases, this can be solved with a patch from the Microsoft website. A patch is an update to a software product that fixes a known problem. You can get this update by downloading it from www.microsoft.com. Windows 98 generally has a problem with shutting down, especially when the computer is attached to a network. Generally, this doesn't hurt anything. It is just a bit of a nuisance. See iBooting problems on what to do during subsequent reboots. B. A window pops up with task, I shut down, and I cancel buttons, what do I do? This message usually appears when you press and hold Control Alt and Delete while running an application or program. This keystroke tells the computer to shut itself down, despite the fact that applications are running. If you would like to turn off the computer without manually closing or saving anything, click the Shut Down button. If you would like to close just the program you are running currently, ensure that the correct program is highlighted in the box and click task. If this window was opened accidentally, click Cancel and you will return to the program you were just using. C. An internal error or icon 32 error box appears suggesting that I restart Windows. This error has occurred because Windows has come across an error that it cannot continue with. If something like this happens and you are in the middle of your work, try to save your work before you click OK. If your work caused the error to occur, everything, after the last time you saved your work, will be lost. Restart your computer. Remember to always document errors thoroughly. Misbehaving software often causes these errors. If the error occurs repeatedly, call for assistance from your technician. 5. Monitor problems. My monitor has no display, the monitor turned off for no reason, or my display is faded. Ensure that the monitor and the computer are turned on. Next, check both the power cord to the monitor and the power cord to the computer. If you are using a power strip, ensure that it is turned on. You can also check the settings on your monitor. The buttons are located on the lower front of the monitor. Check the contrast and tint to see if they are set correctly. Next, check the connection between the monitor and computer. At the rear of the computer, this is the cord that connects the monitor to the computer. The next thing to check is your screensaver settings. Right-click on your desktop properties, or you can click Start Settings. Control Panel Display Settings dialog box will appear. Screensaver tab. Make sure your screensaver is set to go off in a reasonable amount of time, usually 10 minutes or more. Also, make sure your energy savings settings are marked correctly. You can locate the energy savings settings button in the screensaver box, near the bottom. When you click on a settings, you will be able to adjust the amount of time that your computer waits to turn off the monitor if the computer is not in use. If you don't ever want the monitor to be shut down by the energy saver mode, choose Innova. If all these things don't fix the problem, contact a technician. 6. Monitor flashes on and off. Usually this is caused by a loose or bad connection at the back of your computer. You should be able to retighten the connection and continue as normal. If that is not the problem, then it needs to be diagnosed by a professional. 7. Mouse problems. My mouse is sticky and or the cursor won't move. Check to see if your mouse cord is pulled too tightly. If your cord doesn't have enough room to maneuver, then you will have less control over it. Next, check the mouse's connection to the back of the CPU and ensure that it is plugged in. If neither of these possibilities were the problem, you may need to clean the ball on the inside of the mouse. You can flip over the mouse and take the ball out by twisting the round disc that holds it in place. Turn the round piece in the direction of the arrows. Once you have taken out the ball, clean the ball off with a clean, dry, and lint-free cloth. Never use water on any computer part. Put the mouse back together again. If that doesn't fettle problem, it might be time to replace the mouse. My mouse won't right-click, or won't double-click. Press Ctrl-Alt-S and use the arrow key up to get to shutdown, and then choose Reboot. This should fix the problem. If not, a technician should look at the machine. 8. Keyboard problems. I am receiving a keyboard error when booting my computer. This is usually caused by a key being pushed down while the computer starts. Make sure nothing is on top of the keyboard during boot time. Also, this could be caused by the keyboard becoming disconnected from the back of the computer. If neither of these are the problem, contact your technician. My keyboard won't respond at all. If your computer has iFreeze and the keyboard will not respond at all, the first thing to do is to check the keyboard connection to the computer and restart the computer. If your keyboard still does not respond, you may need technical assistance. 9. Printer problems. The printer won't print my document. Check the printer to make sure it is plugged in and turned on. Click Start Settings Printers. If the printer you want to use is not listed, you will have to install that printer. You can do this by clicking Add Printer and following the installation process through to completion. If the printer appears light or grayed out, your printer is offline. Double-click on the printer in question, then click it Print Area and uncheck Pause Print in and use Printer Offline or right-click the printer and select Online. Next, make sure that you have chosen the correct printer. You can check this by going back into the file you were trying to print and click on File Print. The name of the printer will appear near the top of that window next to a name. If the correct printer does not appear in this box, click on the down arrow to the right of the name of the printer being used. Find your printer's name and highlight it by clicking the left mouse button on it. Once you have ensured that the correct printer is chosen and that the printer is not offline or paused, ensure that you are logged onto the network. To do this, click Start and look to see if your logon name is listed after a log off. If your logon name is not there, you need to log back onto the network. To start this process, ensure that you have saved your work. Then, click Start Log Off. This will bring up a dialog box. Click a Yes, you will be prompted to enter your name and password to log back onto the network. Once you finish this, click OK or Enter. Open your file again and try to print it. If you still cannot print, please call a technician. Documents come out faded or striped. This is usually due to dirty or clogged print heads, or the printer being out of ink. Try running a print head cleaning utility to clean the heads. Most printers come with this to help with dirty or clogged heads. Do this by going to Start Settings Printers, and then right-clicking on the printer in question. Try cleaning the heads, and then print a page. If you still get fades or stripes, try it once more. If after 2 times your pages are still coming out faded or striped, then you may need to replace the ink. If, however, the ink is not an issue, you should contact a professional. I am receiving an out of memory error or a spooter error. This is caused when the machine that the printer is connected to runs out of memory, or has an internal error. This usually happens because of large print jobs. If you get this error frequently, you might want to consider upgrading the memory on the computer with the printer attached to it. It can also be caused by lack of free disk space. Check to see if you have enough free space. To do this, double-click on My Computer, right-click each drive properties. The free space should be listed on that screen. If you only have a couple of megabytes or less, that could be your problem. You will need to either clean up your drive or replace it with a bigger drive. Call a technician to help with either of these processes. If you have adequate disk space, try uninstalling and then reinstalling the printer. To do this, click Start Settings Printers, right-click on the printer in question and select Delete. You want to remove it completely from the system. Then click Add Print Area and reinstall the same printer. If it was used across a network, make sure you re-establish the array with the same name. This can be done by right-clicking on the printer and choosing Share this print area. 10. CD-ROM issues. I have no audio and/or my CD player won't come on when playing an audio CD. First, check to see if your speakers are turned on and the volume levels are adequate. At the taskbar tray is a little speaker, double-click it to get its properties. Make sure the volume levels are turned up and that none of the controls are muted. Next, look at the back of the computer where the speakers plug in. If there is a volume control there, make sure it is turned up. Then check to see if the speakers are plugged into the correct jack for audio out. There are usually 3 jacks on the back of a sound card plug as appropriate. Next, we want to open the CD player application by clicking Start Programs Accessories Entertainment CD Player. If the application will not open, you will need to reinstall the CD player application of the Windows CD. You can do that by going into Start Settings Control Panel, Add, Remove Programs, Windows Setup, Multimedia Details. You should see the iCD Play area checked. If it is not, check it and click OK and then Apply, uncheck it and click OK. Then click I Apply, but shut the panel. We now need to go back to a multimedia and recheck the iCD player. Click IOC, and then click Apply again. If this was not the issue, contact your technician. I am receiving an iCD-ROM is not accessible error. Check to see if you have placed the CD you want to read in the CD-ROM drive. Pick up the CD and check to see if it is dirty or scratched. If your CD is clean and fully inserted in the drive, try to read from the drive again. You can also insert another CD into the drive and try to read the new CD. Some iBurnedy CDs cannot be read by certain CD-ROM drives. If your issue goes unresolved, call a professional for assistance.